Welcome, welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. I am uber grateful you're here. My name is Wonu Ali Shea, and sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. Welcome. FCK stands for fun, compassion, and kindness. Now, on the Mindfuck podcast, what we essentially talk about is nervous system regulation, how to safely build trust between your brain and your body, and also reconnecting with parts of ourselves we may have forgotten along the journey, such as our inner child. Now, before we get into the episode of the day, I have this mini tradition where I read a list. Now, the title of the list is Reminders to Being Human. Now, the intention behind reading that list is to remind myself and also in the hopes of reminding you on your journey. All right. Reminders to being human. Have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention. There is power in we than I. If nothing else makes sense, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And the very last one, never underestimate your ripple of existence. Yay! Welcome once again, guys. Now let's get into the fun part of the show. All right. I want you to picture something simple. It's a random Tuesday. Nothing dramatic is going on. Nothing is wrong. And your alarm goes off. You don't feel exhausted, but you also don't feel energized. And you're just there and you reach for your phone. You scroll a little. You check a few things, probably some emails, respond to some text messages, maybe even look at something motivational on social media, something about growth, discipline, consistency. And for a second, you pause because if you're being honest with yourself, you're already doing all that already. You have been consistent all this while. You've been showing up for yourself. You've been doing the work literally every day. And yet, there's this quiet thought at the back of your mind saying, why does it feel like nothing is actually shifting in my life? Now, I want to talk to you about that very moment. Not from the version of you that finally figured it out. Not from the version of you that looks black and explains your life perfectly. But from the version of you who is still in it I mean, the version of you who is doing everything right and still feels stuck. Because I remember this in my life so very clearly. There was a period in my life, especially after I transitioned out of the military in 2022, when I felt like felt like I was doing everything I was supposed to do. Like, I mean, I was reading the books, I was reflecting, I was journaling, I was meditating, I was listening to the podcast, I was trying to understand myself, I was trying to heal, I was trying to move forward from my patterns. Like, I was doing everything, and nothing felt like it was changing in my life. Externally, if you looked at my life, it looked fine. But internally, it genuinely felt like I was running in circles. And the most frustrating part wasn't the lack of results. No. For me, it was the confusion. Because I started asking myself, am I doing something wrong? Am I missing something? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward and I'm just stuck? Now, I'll slow this down for you, my friend, because this feeling doesn't just show up in big life moments. It shows up in small, everyday moments. For example, it's a Monday morning. You told yourself last night you are going to wake up early. You told yourself you're going to be intentional. You're going to start the week right. And you do. I mean, you wake up, you didn't hit the snooze button, you drink a glass of water, maybe you even stretch, or maybe you even sit with yourself and reflect for a few minutes before you start your day. And then by 10 a.m. that morning, your body already feels tight. Your mind already feels busy. And you're like, how am I already here again? Right? Or maybe later in that day, you handle something differently. I mean, you respond instead of reacting, you pause instead of snapping, and you feel proud of yourself for a moment. And you tell yourself, like, okay, something seems to be shifting today, right? And then a few hours go by, something very small happens, and you're right back in the same reaction, the same tone, the same feeling, the same mental loops, the same spiral. And now it's not just frustrating as fuck, it is very discouraging because it feels like all the efforts you're putting in is not sticking. Now, let me speak to you very directly, my friend. Not in a fix it way, but in a very real human way. You're not doing everything right and nothing is shifting. That's not what's happening. No. No, no, no. What's actually happening is you're doing a lot of things, but your body has not caught up yet. That's what's happening. And I know that might not be what you want to hear right now, my friend, because when you're in it, you want movement. You want evidence. You want things to start to shift. You want to point to something and say, see, this is working. This is why I put in the work. This is why I'm being consistent and showing up for myself. You want that. But I will tell you this is part of the process. It's quieter than that. Now, let me explain this through something really real in my life. There was a time when my sleep schedule was completely off. I'm talking 2 to 4 hours a night for a long time. And I'm telling you, I tried everything logical. I mean, from routines to structure to discipline to no phone before bed to putting my phone in a different room before I sleep. All the things you're supposed to do and nothing changed. So naturally, in my brain, I thought, I must be doing something wrong. But the thing is, what I did not understand at that time was this: my body did not feel safe enough to rest. And no amount of doing the right things was going to override that. Nothing. Because the body takes its time. So every night became this cycle of, for me, was I'll try to sleep, I'll get frustrated, I'll judge myself, then I'll try harder the next night and repeat the same cycle. From the outside, it looked like, okay, I was making effort. It looked like discipline, but underneath all that, there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of pressure on my body. And if I'm being honest, there was a lot of control. I was trying to control the outcome of how I slept every night. And I'll tell you, the body always feels that. So even though I was doing everything right, in air quotes, nothing was shifting because the foundation was not there yet. Capacity, internal capacity. And this is where most people get stuck. Not because they're not trying, no, but because they're trying from a place of pressure. Now, I want to ask you something simple just for a second, my friend. When you say you are doing everything right, what does that actually feel like in your body? Just sit with that for a minute. Does it feel light? Does it feel open? Does it feel curious, like you're trying to understand yourself better? Or does it feel tight? Does it feel heavy? Like you're trying to get somewhere as quickly as possible? Because those are two very different energies, even if the actions that you're taking look the same. I mean, you can wake up early from pressure, or you can wake up early from curiosity, right? I mean, you can journal from self-judgment, or you can journal from self-connection, really wanting to get to know yourself. I mean, you can reflect because you think something is wrong with you, or you can reflect because you're genuinely interested in understanding yourself. Now, do you see? It's the same action, but completely different experience. And your body responds to the experience, not the checklist. This is the part that took me a very, very long time to see, because I was so focused on what I was doing, I never stopped to ask myself, how am I actually doing it? I never did. And there was a moment, I remember this very clearly. I was sitting on my bed in the middle of the day. Nothing special was happening, but I just felt it. I felt it in my bones. I felt stuck in my life. I felt stuck. And I had this thought, and I was like, if I'm doing all this work, why don't I feel different in my body? Why don't I feel different in my life? And instead of trying to answer the question or try to get to a conclusion, I just sat with not knowing. I just sat with it. And I noticed something subtle happening in real time. My chest felt tight, my shoulders were slightly raised. And it hit me in that moment. I was trying to fix myself the entire time. Even in my healing, in getting to know myself, getting to understand myself, there was constant pressure. And I'll tell you right now, your body doesn't shift in pressure. No. What it does is it reinforces, it protects you. So all the things I thought were helping me were actually reinforcing the same pattern I was trying to move away from, just in a more acceptable way. Okay, I'll give you another everyday life example. Let's just say you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to stay calm. You're trying to respond differently like you would have from the past. You're trying to be a better human being, right? But internally, you're monitoring yourself, right? There's this hypervigilance going on. and you're telling yourself, don't react, stay calm, you have to say the right thing. That's pressure. That's pressure you're putting on your body. And your body is feeling it, right? So even if you don't react outwardly to that person, internally, nothing is shifting because you're putting that pressure on yourself. Because the environment inside you still feels the same. Do you see, my friend? This is why it feels like nothing looks like it's changing in your life because you are measuring change externally. While the real shift is internal, the real shift is slow, the real shift is quiet, much slower than we want. That's the truth. And I know. This part can be frustrating as fuck because it can feel like, man, how long is this shit gonna take? Right? And the honest answer is this: it takes as long as it takes for your body to trust the experience. There's no timeline. It's not the words, it's not the ideas, lived experience. And this is where those small moments, micro moments of safety matter more than anything. It's not the big breakthroughs, it's not the perfect days. No. I mean, the small, almost invisible moments in your life. I mean, for example, like when you wake up in the morning and instead of immediately reaching for your cell phone, you just sit there for 10 seconds and feel what is going on in your body in real time. That's what I mean by small invisible moments. Or for example, when you feel that familiar reaction rising in you and instead of stopping the reaction, you notice what's happening without judging what's happening in your body. Or for example, when you catch yourself being hard on yourself, judging yourself, you pause for a second and you soften your tone internally. I'm telling you, my friend, these things, examples that I just gave, they don't look like big changes initially. But to your body, though, they are completely new experiences. And over time, cumulatively, over time, those lived experiences start to build something. Ooh, and that something is trust. That's the foundation. Not the kind you think about, but the kind your body feels. Trust. And once that starts to build the foundation, things starts to shift in your life. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. Steadily. Like a heartbeat. I mean, you start to notice, you start to recover quickly. You don't stay too long in your loop as long as you used to stay in the past. I mean, the reaction doesn't feel as intense as you used to feel in the past. That's the power of trusting yourself. And one day you find yourself in the same situation where you would normally react and you don't. Holy shit. That's the shift I'm talking about. And it surprises you because you don't force the reaction. Your body is starting to feel safe and trust you. And that's when you realize, oh, something has been shifting the entire time. That's the power of lived experiences. That's the power of trust. That's the power of safety. You just couldn't see it yet because it was happening underneath the surface. So if you're in that place right now, my friend, where it feels like you're doing everything right in your life and nothing seems to be changing, I want you to consider this. What if something is actually shifting, but not in the way you are measuring it? What if? What if the shift isn't in the outcome yet, but in the way your body is slowly learning safety? What if the repetition you're seeing is not failure? That repetition you're seeing, what if it's part of the integration? Because I have been there, my friend, more than once. I have. And every fucking time, the shift did not come from me doing more. The shift did not come from me trying harder. No, the shift, the integration came from softening. The integration came from slowing things down. The integration and the shift came from allowing the process to look less perfect because you're human. And I know that's not always easy, especially when you're used to effort. But it is necessary because that builds the foundation of trust and safety in your life. So today, on this random Monday afternoon, instead of asking yourself, why isn't anything shifting in my life? Right? Maybe ask yourself, where in my body am I still holding pressure? And just notice as you ask yourself that question, be honest and see what your body shows you. Not fixing it, not changing it, just noticing awareness, right? Because sometimes, my friend, that is where the real shift begins. As always, I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you so much for taking time out to listen. And I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Thank you.